Hello again, my name is Siva Subramaniam. I'm a senior database solution architect at AWS. I'm here today to show you how to migrate your SQL Server workloads to Amazon RDS for SQL Server using backup and restore method. Let's get started. To migrate to RDS for SQL Server, first we need to create SQL Server instance. You can use AWS Console or infrastructure as a code tools like Terraform or CloudFormation to create RDS for SQL Server instance. I will use AWS Console this time to create RDS for SQL Server instance. Click on Create Database and you will see different database engine options, and we need to choose Microsoft SQL Server as our engine. And you will further see a couple of options here. One is Amazon RDS and Amazon RDS for custom. For this demo, we will pick Amazon RDS as a database management type. RDS custom, in other hand, also provides option to host SQL Server Developer Edition, and also it brings you help you to bring your licenses to AWS as well. On Amazon RDS for SQL Server, you have different editions, and for this example demo, we will choose SQL Server Standard Edition because we are not using any Enterprise Edition features. Pick the right engine version. We are choosing SQL Server 29. You will see multiple other latest versions as well. As of today, you have SQL Server 2022 as well. And then the next option, choosing the instance type here. This one can be based on our discovery tool assessment, which revealed for us to choose the right instance type. For this example, we will be picking M6i. I think our tool revealed R5 in this case. And also choose the storage type. You can choose IO2 for low latency applications where high throughput and high IOPS requirements. And also you have a GP3 option, which is better price performance for your regular applications there as well. And also you can enable storage auto scaling, which will auto scale storage as you grow your database there. And multi-AC deployment, this is where we set up HA, high availability, for you, and you enable this for your production workloads to fail over automatically in case of any AZ level failures in AWS. Once you pick all the options you needed, and then you can go and create, click on Create Database there. Now you can see the RDS for SQL Server available and ready for migrations. We are going to use SQL Server native backup and restore method. In order to enable backup restore option in RDS for SQL Server, we have to create an option group, and then we can enable backup restore option part of this option group. First, create an option group using AWS console, clicking on option groups on the left hand side, and then click on create group and provide the option group name, in this case backup and restore. Provide the meaningful description of this option group, and then choose the engine name. In this case, it's SQL Server Standard Edition, and also choose appropriate engine version. In this case, SQL Server 2019. I'm picking 15 as engine version, and create option group. Once option group is created, now next step, we have to add SQL Server backup and restore into the option group that we created. Click on the option group and click on add option. And then you have several option names available, and choose the SQL Server backup and restore option in this case. You also need to provide IAM role. This IAM role helps SQL Server access S3 bucket to read and write backup files into S3 bucket. In this case, you have an option to create a new role or choose the existing one. In this case, we have already created the role which basically provides access to the S3 bucket for this particular RDS instance. And choose immediately and click on add option. Now we are ready to add the option group into RDS for SQL Server. To do so, click on the RDS instance and then click on modify, and then go to the section where you'll be able to configure option groups for this particular RDS instance. In this case, select on option group here and then pick the backup and restored option group just we created for this instance, and click on continue, and then click on apply immediately. This way, this instance now have access to S3 bucket, and you can do native backup and restore operations into S3 bucket. Next, note down the S3 bucket that we created to copy the backup files from EC2 to RDS instance. In this case, you see this is a S3 bucket, and also copy this ARN, which you will be later using into the AWS CLI to copy the backup files into this bucket. Next step, log into the EC2 where your SQL Server is running and run the backup database command to back up the databases to migrate them into RDS for SQL Server. In this case, we will be migrating sample DB, and then we will be running this backup command and to back up the database into Z drive. We can see now the backup of sample DB is just completed and ready to copy them into S3 bucket. Now let's copy the backup files which we created just now from our EC2 instance to S3 bucket. We will be using AWS S3 command and copy those backup files sample DB into S3 bucket called DMS RDS SQL Server. Now I connected to RDS for SQL Server instance, and you can see on the left hand side there is no user database exits right now. I'm going to use the restore command to restore sample database from S3 bucket where we copied the backup files. I'm also going to use with no recovery option equal to 1 because we want to restore subsequent tlog backups to reduce the downtime during migration. I executed the restore command now, and you can see the restore job is created and it's running. We can also check this restore job status using tsql command. Now you can see I executed the task status command, and you see this progress is in progress for the life cycle here. And also left hand see, you can see now the sample DB, which is user database, in restoring status. Now let's connect to the SQL Server running on EC2 and take the tlog backup to the Z drive. I'm going to copy the tlog backup from Z drive to S3 bucket. Now you can see the tlog backup copied using AWS S3 CLI command. Now the restore of full backup on RDS, it's just completed and the lifecycle shows success. But the database still in restoring status so that we can restore further tlogs until we have a cutover window. Now I'm going to restore the tlog with the no recovery option equal to 0. That means this is the last tlog I'm going to restore and then bring the database online. If you want to continue to restore tlog until the cutover window, you can continue to use with no recovery option equal to 1. Now I restored the tlog backup using restore tlog command, and then the job is created. Now this tlog is getting restored. We can also check status of this tlog restoration using the RDS task status command. Now you can see the tlog restore is successful, and the left hand side sample database is online, and you see all the tables available. This concludes a demo of how to restore SQL Server into RDS. You can also automate the tlog restoration using Python script like this. And this will help you to restore tlogs until cutover and then cut over the database into RDS for SQL Server. You can scan the QR code shown in the screen for additional resources and documentation for migrating SQL Server into AWS. You can also set up further monitoring using this documentation and automation for your RDS SQL Server as well. Thanks again for your time watching this SQL Server migration into RDS. Happy migrating into AWS Cloud.